What is up, y'all? Within today's video, we're going to be talking about Jeffree Star and Trisha Paytas. Let me just go ahead and say this from the jump. I am super late to talk about this. I want to say this happened like 3 weeks ago, y'all. But let me just go ahead and tell you guys that I was on my cruise when this happened. And originally, I was going to film a video on the ship. And then I was like, you know what? I couldn't upload during the time because I didn't pay for the Wi-Fi package. So I was like, it's going to be late regardless. So you know what? I'll just film it when I get off the ship. And then when I got off, I forgot, oh my gosh, I couldn't upload 5 other videos that I had pre-filmed. So I uploaded all those 5. So then I was like, it's going to be way too late. Like, by the time I make a video, it's going to be 10 days late. And then I was like, you know what? I feel like we should talk about this because we talk about Trisha Paytas on my channel. We've talked about all the drama with Trisha Paytas, Hair by Jay, and Jeffree Star. And we always obviously talk about Jeffree Star on my channel. So I was like, I should make a video about this. And I have absolutely nothing going on today. Like, I'm low-key so bored right now that I'm just kind of like, you know what? Let's go and talk about this now, even though it is about 3 weeks old. Because I am curious to know what you guys have to say about this, only because I feel like if you guys don't remember, y'all, before we jump into the video, let me just give you guys a little summary from my memory, okay? From my memory, I could be wrong on this. I didn't re-fact check on this, okay? This is just from my memory. And yes, I did make videos about this, but this was a long time ago, so I did kind of forget the full story. So basically, in a nutshell, from my memory, Jeffree Star and Trisha Paytas had a falling out because they went on this trip to Vegas, and apparently everything was all fun, fine, and dandy. And Trisha Paytas did make a video before saying she had the time of her life, that Jeffree Star treated her so good, and they had a great time. But then later on, she came to say, oh no, it was a horrible trip. He bullied me. He did all these, apparently, y'all, I remember her specifically saying that she went to go reach for food and he slapped her hand. You know what I mean? There was all these different things. And then she had made these comments, and then Jeffree Star's hairstylist, Hair by Jay, got onto live and called her a walrus. I specifically remember that. And that's where I was like, whoa. But then this is where things got so trippy to me, because if you guys remember, Jeffree Star said, good morning. He posted a story on Instagram and he was like, good morning to everyone except for the guy that used to do my hair. And it was Hair by Jay. And this is where I was so confused, because he obviously was alluding to the fact that he fired Hair by Jay. But then, I shit you not, maybe 2 weeks down the road, he was having Hair by Jay do his hair again. So I was like, what's really going on here? I am so lost. But then there was radio silence. No one really ever talked about it. Obviously, Trisha Paytas said it was just so horrible. She ended up deleting the video that she made about this, that she did upload to her YouTube, as to where she was doing a little I wouldn't call it a vlog, but I guess just I don't know, talking head. She was literally just talking to the camera. She ended up deleting it, right? Obviously, fast forward down the road, she ends up coming out with her podcast, and then she ends up making a comment about oh, I don't even remember what happened. I forgot all about it. And Jeffree Star went berserk on a TikTok live talking about she don't remember. I'll play the clip within this video, y'all, by the way, because I actually have it. He's like, she doesn't remember. She literally ruined my life. It was so bad for my mental health, all these things. And I was like, I am so confused at what's really going on here, because I don't know if you guys remember, there was another guy who was in the mix that was supposedly there. I want to say his name was Tab. It was something different. I can't really, I feel like it was Tab though. And he ended up making a video too, basically backing up Trisha and saying all those things were true and that they were all talking shit about Trisha behind her back. So I'm like, I don't know what to believe here, y'all. Everything is kind of just all over the place. But it now seems like Trisha Paytas is over their beef. And she's like, you know what? I could potentially have him on the podcast. And then she makes this comment. And then literally within the same week, Jeffree Star is posting old photos of them on his Instagram stories. This is while I was on my cruise. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? So are they friends again? Is she going to have him on the podcast? I'm so confused, but I'm going to be honest with you guys. You guys know I'm a nosy bitch. I feel like if Jeffree Star goes onto her podcast, I'm gonna watch the full thing. And y'all know Trisha Paytas' podcast, they be 3 hours long. I will sit there and listen to the whole damn thing, only because I'm I want to know, first of all, if he does go on the podcast, I do feel like they need to address everything that happened on the podcast, because obviously so many viewers, myself included, are going to be like, what happened? What's the tea? Are you guys cool now? What's really going on here? Whose side of the story was telling the truth? Because honestly, I'm just so confused. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like also Jeffree Star did make a tweet apology too. I feel like he tweeted an apology towards Trisha Paytas. So I was like, oh, so he kind of admitted fault there, right? But then I don't know, he ended up backtracking on it. Y'all, I'm so confused on this, because I do feel like, say for example, if all these things did happen as to where Trisha Paytas was saying, don't you think she wouldn't forget about it? And y'all, I'm going to play some clips within today's video so you guys can see where she's kind of I forgot exactly what happened. So I'm a little bit baffled about this whole situation, but that's what we're going to be talking about today. So if you guys are interested in that, of course, go ahead and keep on watching. Also, make sure you guys check out my podcast. It'll be linked down below, as well as travel vlogs. And that's it. There was something else that I was going to say. There was a makeup question that I wanted to ask y'all. I literally was sitting there like getting ready to film, and I was like, I'm going to ask y'all something about makeup. I forgot exactly what it was, but I forgot. If I think about it, I'll let you guys know in the video. Let's get into it. My ADD is in full force today, y'all. I literally am like, or I think it's like ADHD. You know what's so crazy? Like sometimes like people have told me before, they're like, oh, you definitely show signs of like ADHD. And I'm like, I never want to say like me and the word hyper within the same sentence because I'm like not hyper. Like I'm lazy. Do you know what I mean? So I always just feel like it's ADD and not ADHD. I don't know. Anyways, y'all, you know what I was thinking about right now? I probably should have went on live today. Literally. I'm like, the way I'm acting, I'm like, whoop, this would have been a good live. Anyways, before we play the clips from Trisha Paytas' podcast, because honestly, y'all, like she said things throughout separate podcasts, and y'all, I'm gonna keep it real with you guys, only because I feel like what's easier. I want to give a shout out to Spill Sesh, because I was watching Spill Sesh's video like a week ago or whenever she had posted it, and I just took the screen recordings from her video from the podcast because I was like, you know what? It's hard. It's really, really hard to find clips from Trisha Paytas' podcast because they're 3 hours long. So I'm like, whoa, in order to find the exact moment. So shout out to Spill Sesh on this one, y'all. I took the clips from hers only because I was like, this is way easier. And then on top of that too, because obviously I was on my cruise when like she talked about things more. So I was like, oh my God, I'm so far behind on all the podcasts of Trisha Paytas. So I'm like, I'm gonna have to watch like 9 hours worth of podcast to know exactly the moment where she's talking about. So just letting you guys know. Before we actually jump into those clips though from the podcast, I do want to play the clip from Jeffree Star because I actually have that clip on my phone. And I do feel like this is important to see because this was recent. Like this was within the past year. Y'all, I want to say this was within the past maybe like 9 months. Do you know what I mean? That he was just popping off about Trisha Paytas. And I'm like, what's going on behind the scenes here? Because you were popping off on Trisha Paytas on this TikTok live and saying like, oh, this bitch don't remember and blah, 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 all that. And then I'm like, all of a sudden you're posting pictures about her onto your Instagram story. I'm like, what's really going on here? Sometimes I don't know with Jeffree Star. Say, for example, maybe behind the scenes, he's like, you know what? Hell no, I'll never be friends again with Trisha Paytas. But maybe he knows that people are like wanting him to go on to Trisha Paytas' podcast. Maybe he's like, let me just feed into this because it's going to get people talking. And y'all know I've always said I feel like Jeffree Star knows how to get people talking. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But check out this clip right here.
You don't remember if we had beef? You don't remember how we had a falling out? Literally made up the most vicious lies about me and tried to ruin my life. And at the time, everyone was bored and people entertained her lies. It was so horrible for my mental health. And this says you don't remember.
As y'all saw from right there, he was really, really heated. And that obviously was a little bit old. Obviously, things could have changed. But to my understanding, well, at least from the way that Trisha Paytas is making it sound, it seems like they haven't really talked. They haven't really said anything behind the scenes. So I'm like, I don't know what's really going on here. Obviously, things are just very vague and left up to the viewer's interpretation of things. But it definitely does seem like she is willing to have him on her podcast. I'm just going to go on a wild limb here, okay? And I feel like, hey, maybe a lot of you guys might disagree with me on this. But low key though, is this not the perfect opportunity to come out with a like new version of Frenemies? I don't know what they would call it because obviously I feel like Frenemies is owned by Ethan Klein. But I feel like this would be the perfect opportunity to come out with like their own podcast, being that like low key they were frenemies there for a little bit, or like I don't know if they're like enemies now. I really don't know what's going on, but I feel like this is a perfect opportunity for them to do something together. I don't know. I feel like Jeffree Star's audience is huge, Trisha Paytas' audience is huge, and I feel like they're both low key very entertaining. So I'm just kind of like, they could make a really good spin-off of Frenemies. I don't know what they would call it, but I think it would be really good. Y'all know they both love pink, and I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like it could go. I feel like a lot of people obviously will be like, oh my God, you know, because Trisha Paytas has had her fair share of scandals. Jeffree Star, Lord knows, has his scandals. So I feel like people low-key would be heated, but then a lot of people would watch. Like, I feel like that would be a really highly watched podcast. Anyways, let me shut up. Let me go ahead and play these clips from Spill Sesh's video. Once again, shout out to her because I was way too lazy to go back and like get all these clips myself. I was like, it's way too much. But go ahead and check these out.
Some part of me sometimes is I would love to like talk to him, like have him on the podcast, but I'm just also like, is that a bad idea? Like, you know, I don't know. I feel like, was our falling out bad? I don't know. I suppose I don't remember either. Like, this is what I'm saying. I'm like, wait, sometimes I forget. I forget. I remember, but you know, sometimes you forget the severity of something.
Totally, yeah. I don't know either.
Like, is it like inviting like to me it wasn't even toxic. So I'm like, is this? But I'm like, God, I would like to know like what his life is like now in like Wyoming, or are we just past that point? I mean, me and Shane are past that point, but I feel like me and Jeffree, I don't know.
As y'all saw from right there, like, I really do feel like she wants Jeffree Star on her podcast. I do think it could be big. Honestly, it could probably be her, like, most watched podcast, especially because millions of people know about their beef, being that was, like, made viral, especially the whole Hair by Jay guy calling her a walrus. Like, and I'm so sorry, I am saying this from the jump. If he ends up going on her podcast, whether it be, like, in the next month, the next 6 months, whenever, I want Trisha Paytas to ask him, like, what did you say to Hair by Jay behind the scenes? And, like, were you okay with him calling me a walrus? Like, what the hell? You know what I mean? Like, I want her to, like, have a list of questions. Low-key, I feel like maybe on her, like, Patreon or, like, maybe on her membership, she should, like, take fan-submitted questions. You know what I mean? Like, she should let people know. It should not be a surprise that he's going to be on there. Fan-submitted questions should be asked so that way people can, like, ask the juicy questions. And I want them to answer it. Like, honestly, I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like, especially because their drama was so big, I just feel like there's just so many questions and so many viewers have so, like, many thoughts and opinions about this that I feel like they should really address everything. That's just my little opinion over here, but I do feel like I'm a messy bitch, so obviously I want to know all the tea. Anyways, make sure you guys let me know your thoughts and opinions about everything. I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out, Girl Scout.